Everybody knows him. This is tonight's featured poet. I'll say his name at the end after we build up energy. That's a good start. So here he is. This is him. He seems to have a message for us. This is directed right at us, and he's going to come up here and share his message with us. Please keep in mind, he also has the inside spread. When's the last time a poet had the cover and the inside spread of Showcase? And if that's not enough, he's a multi-published author, a world traveler with poetry, and he's right here among us tonight. Give a big poetry night, Erie, Pennsylvania, North Coast. Welcome to tonight's featured poet from all over Erie, Pennsylvania, Sean Thomas Dougherty. What can we say?
Test. How's that? Is it okay? Well, it's really beautiful to see so many people out here tonight. This is a celebration for the publication. My book, All My People Are Elegies, essay, prose poems, and other epistolary oddities. And this came about from a series of rejections which I started to receive in 2018, where I got on Facebook and I started to write back to them. I started to write these little essays. And then people would respond to them, people started to post their own rejection letters. But the book started to go off in different directions and become more about my work as a caregiver, about life here in Erie, and various other things. So I'm going to read about 4 or 5 of these. And then I want to have like a really nice, do people bring work to read for open mic? Read stuff. Waffle. Maybe, right? So I'm going to begin. The titles each play off a real rejection letter that I received. This is one of the first ones I wrote. This is from a picture I saw of an editor who rejected me. Dear editor, sipping wine the color of posh. I've been worrying about you because I read on your guidelines that you receive over 10,000 submissions. Just reading that made me want to pop a handful of Tylenol PM and then sit in a chair and stare at the light on the wall. It is oddly warm today. Is it warm where you are over in the Midwest? I checked the Weather Channel, and I hope you are not in the rain from the leftover hurricane, as if the hurricane is something we could eat with a giant spoon, not the little spoons too many of my dead use to burn with their lighter and keep in a kit they'd hide in a hole in the wall. Oh, editor, I sometimes wonder if not all what we write are elegies, the lost psalms I carry inside me. No, but don't worry about that. Let's talk instead about this new bird I heard this morning. It too is another leftover from the October weather who has not flown south yet. I saw it high up in the tree, this small black and red bird who was signing the air with its voice. It rewrote the whole morning into mourning. Its light notes so mapped with grief, I looked around to see if its mate had fallen prey to some nighttime cat. Let us pray, I say. I say it all the time these days. It seems it is all we have left. I look at the empty air between my 2 hands, and I can't seem to push them together. The other day, my wife saw a white owl fly over her head. It hesitated in the air like a giant moth before rising with one big flap and disappearing over the power station. She said she couldn't press the gas pedal to go. She was so startled. But she did. She drove away. What I'm trying to say is the miraculous is like that everywhere, but we cannot keep it. We must leave. There are children waiting to be fed. We have a pork roast to buy, some potatoes. Our bosses are waiting for us to punch in. But editor, dear editor, That great owl is still out there. He's still eyeing the ball field and the grass on the side of the ravines. He is dipping and swooping at night between the power lines of our backyards to eat the rodents. Can you hear the blackbird's grieving songs? Have you turned away from the blue light of your screen? Have you left your office to breathe in the scent of your sleeping child's hair? Okay, so this is the one where the title comes from. My people are all allergies. And this one's called "Dear Editor Who Said My Poems Were Almost." That's like the worst rejection I could get, right? Like, no, you know, we almost published these. We almost liked these. These were almost good enough. I talk about my friend Tim. I tried to get Tim to come here. My friend Tim Blackwell, I said, man, I'm going to read a poem about you being wasted. He's like, ah, man, I can't come, I'm too wasted. It's a true story. My people drink too much. I'm driving, and there's my friend Tim headed to the corner store to buy a 12-pack at noon. I stop, I pick him up. He tells a story about his friend Donnie fighting cancer, how he could have been a famous rock singer. He says he's going to drink the afternoon away. I let him out as a cop watches us. My people are all elegies. We're on 16th Street. There used to be a great old man bar across the street where old men drank slow from opening at 10 a.m. to close. Then they all died. The bar closed. My wife is often drunk. She hides bottles of vodkas in our daughter's closet. She lies to my face when I ask if she's been drinking. She lies so much I begin to doubt myself and think maybe I've gotten paranoid, but then she feels guilty and confesses and gets clean for a while. My friends close bars like the rich close factories. My friends close bars like the rich close factories. And with each one, a little piece of my people dies. We drink away our mortgage payments and our divorces. We drink for joy after working 10-hour shifts. We drink to forget our foreman. We drink with our foreman to forget our foreman. We drink in giant sippy cups we sip when we drive. Our mothers and our daughters drink. Our sons are doing time for getting caught drinking and then driving into someone's lawn. We drink after crashing the backhoe. There are 1,000 bars with the names of our dead scrawled into the counter. We sit at the bar and talk about so-and-so who was almost famous. The bartender wipes the clouds from the counter, and my people lean over to see their blurry faces. My people count out change from change purses to buy 50-cent drafts. My people drink the light from clouds. They drink the dust from fireworks. We drink the dark. We drink well-scrubbed floors. We drink broken axles and free enterprise. We spoon honey into our whiskey. We drink the dark. We drink the dark. We drink broken axles and free enterprise. We spoon honey into our whiskey, and we spoon whiskey into our wine. We put shotgun shells on our fingers. We drink cesarean scars. There are accordions in our chests we press as we rise, and our hands are covered with engine grease. Someone lights a match, burns a letter denying benefits, and the ashes plume into the air like black butterflies above the bar. And what do we do when the rent is due, when we don't have anything left to pawn? We breathe into an empty shot glass. We tell that same story about who could have been if only. Sentences float from our mouths like meth, a dirge of apparitions that were never my people's almost odes. All right, I'm going to try to read this piece. It's a little longer, but it's for a friend of mine who's no longer with us. This is called Dear Editor Who Said My Work Was Too Narrative for Their Journal. I wrote this for my friend Jose Rosario. I've been telling a lot of stories lately. A lot of stories of where I lived is a story. We are all stories. Our friend Jose Rosario, who we shot dead on his back porch, is a story. I've been down in a down place for longer than I can remember lately, mapping my failures in these little essays I've been writing like rungs in a ladder I'm hoping to climb, though out of what or toward where I'm not sure. Dear dead with beauty on them as they lie. Perhaps everything I write are letters to my dead. Jose was only 18 years old. Perhaps some of you even knew him. I knew Jose from the pool hall where I worked the counter. He came up through our juniors league. I can still see him when he was small in his flattened down afro trying to hold his cue, balancing it on the table's edge as his coach taught him how to stand correctly, feet shoulder apart and chin down. I saw him lose on purpose to many a younger, weaker player. He turned to me at the desk and shrug and wink. He'd tell them what they did well and wrong in such a gentle way. He was a good teacher, and he was a good kid. And after he turned 16, he worked with us at the pool hall. He wiped the tables, he ran the register, he grew tall and wiry, his limbs stayed thin as cues. But I witnessed his body learn how to stand firm against gravity and the weight that presses us down in this world. Someone blew Jose away, and some of my other friends are searching for who did it. People are asking questions. There was so little word on the street. What do the police care? There is a story that needs to be told here about Jose, about violence, about guns, about this nation we live in that doesn't acknowledge our children are at war. Or is it more a story about the flowers I saw on the news, sitting on the kitchen table as his mother looked at the camera and called for someone to come forward? The police don't care about a dead Puerto Rican kid. Dear editor, what about that story? Can you tell me that story? Last night, the nuns held a vigil for Jose in front of his house. Friends and family stood in the dark with late November holding candles. I drove by slowly. I could not stay. I'd worked a double and I was too tired. I had to buy groceries and make dinner as my wife was not home. All of this was true, but I did not stop because the flames of those candles burned my chest. I saw Jose's mother there, head bent and praying. How much of what defines us in this world is what we dare to witness? Whoever shot Jose walked in his back door. The door was open. He turned toward the door when he heard it, and someone shot him and ran into the East Side night. And no one can say more than that or anything. His friend from his pool team tells me she cannot sleep. She just had a baby and the child cries all night. She said she can't stop thinking that Jose will not know her daughter. She talks to me with words like tragedy and justice. There are no words we can truly say. We use the words we have given. Sometimes after work, I'm so tired from hearing the curses and outbursts of the men and women I take care of. I sit in the parking lot for a long time, letting the car run, listening to some lame light pop song. I've seen the other workers do this too, as if we were waiting for something to arrive or to let go so we can pass back into the normal world. Why must words become a ladder or a map? Why can't a word be a word, something that and only by itself can open the body and become breath? The word always wants to shift, become something more than a word. But in this life, the words I use are little more than words. Jose used to squint as he leaned over his cue. He squinted one eye so he could measure the shot, then opened it and let the cue ball fly. Can you see the shot? His coach would ask Jose. Can you feel it? Can you become one with the cue? My friend is dead. How much of our lives do we spend just hoping someone will invite us in to do anything? We're waiting for the cue. That means, come in. We do not know what will happen when we open the door. So that was a piece of that. I wanted to read that because oftentimes we talk about poetry operating in this other space, but that's a piece it operates in this space. This is a real person. This is someone I knew, someone who lived in our city, who was taken from us. left an absence in the air. I'm going to read two more pieces. This is called Dear Book Contest Editor. Thank you for your letter informing me my manuscript did not even place. And I like this piece too because I wrote it and then I sent it back to the same press because they have a magazine and it pissed them off. Because they also solicited me to enter that contest. I never make the best of lists they have at the end of the year, even after over a dozen books, not one. What did I expect from literary life? It's not like I made a list before I was a writer. You know those lists in high school for most popular, most likely, best hair, smile, most artistic, even the ones like most likely to commit a felony. But then I went to high school with several people who were on lists like most likely to succeed. Russ Muirhead, who was a Rhodes Scholar in economics. Most athletic, Chip Kelly, who coached the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, class comedian, Adam Sandler, renowned movie star and comedian who makes B-list gems and $1 bazillion, and I imagine is on every party list. You know those Hollywood after hours, after awards kind of clubs, plastic slip-dressed models and expensive vodka and pounds of cocaine on the house. Yeah, that list. No wonder the word list comes from the name for the area where knights would joust. But I've never even made the list at the Polish Falcon Social Club to have my weekly number drawn. Never even considered to win anything, which I suspect is the same for most everybody. Except every now and then, someone's number is drawn. Someone wins the lottery. Someone has the right 6-digit number. Someone has the right look, the right name, and so it goes. To be on the list is to be on the run to the spectacular, to cover our bodies with glitter and stars, to rock the one-way, to be known and explained, a list, to be a hit on the hit list. The hit list, of course, in a different context, is the last place you want to be, or the wanted list. Your name's posted on every post office wall, hiding out in seedy motels, a 9mm tucked in a waistband, and a dubious cause tattooed across your chest. To enlist is to go to war. We go to war every day. We make our lists, we bucket them down, all the things we'll never do because we work 60 hours a week and our kids need things and our spouses drink, and we go to bars and drink too much and listen to the right off the road. Dear wife, when you were sickest and I thought you weren't coming home, I found the last grocery list we made. Pollock paneer, eggs, a slinky, milk, cat food, egg molds, broccoli. It made no sense. But we have not made sense since we first listed into one another's arms, strung out and lost. And there is no list for how I hope or what I carry through this life. No list I could make to explain all those years my ribs still play a broken xylophone, our discordant song. And I'm still brainstorming what to do, what chores to check off and complete, what urgent reply to send to what, dear editor. Can I tell you of our work, except we live along the lake, far from anywhere where we would be on a list, never to be invited to the latest bestseller release, never to drink martinis with New York editors in that penthouse, far from hospital ER rooms, far from rehabs, far from morgues where our murdered friends were taken, far from heroin and ODs, far from our old found dead alone and rented rooms. What list can we make for them, dear editor? What list for us, the invisible, the workers with our night shifts and our shovels, with our bullet-strewn foreclosed houses, unpaid mortgage? What is there for us, the average, the unspectacular, working for minimum wage, the unbounded, the uninsured, the undocumented, not on any list, the taken in, the disappeared, the voices no one hears? When he reads off our list, they will sing loud from the pages of the book, bent back leopards, each of us. We will enter the kingdom of God, and we will tell him there was no Eden. Okay, here's the last piece. So loud. Dear editor, who returned my essay covered with sticky notes. You know, sometimes you don't even have to make it up, right? It's just so... Dear editor, who returned my essay covered with sticky notes. Like the ones we use at work to remind ourselves of things mundane and important, such as Elle tried to steal sugar from the kitchen, or Jay is out of toilet paper and wiping herself with her hand, or P's blood pressure is high and to notify nursing. And at the end of each shift, you can see the staff's trail for the day in yellow squares of hastily scrawled blue and black ink. The state mandates all documents must be done in black or blue. And we then translate our notes into documentation on official tracking papers called IDAPs, Individual Daily Activity Plan. And this lets the caseworker in the state know how our people are doing. Then we collect those sticky notes into a log entry to tell the oncoming staff what is happening in the house. It all sounds chaotic, and it is, but it's how we communicate, how we keep track of time, and are nearly always understaffed. It's how we remind ourselves these notes of what happened in the blur of requests and call-offs, of giving medication, of outbursts and tantrums, all the short-circuiting of the brain injured, all the CTOs, which means consideration to others, the small things they might do that show empathy, such as handing each other a cup, or holding a door, or saying please and thank you. And these are hard for them. The frontal lobe damage makes the lives of others hard to see, but we see. We write them down on yellow sticky notes, we mark the smallest gestures. It tells us they are getting better, or they are remembering at least what it is to be a person who can see someone other than themselves. My wife likes to use sticky notes in the fridge, so does her mother. I tell my wife I can tell when she is drunk by how legible her notes are. If she writes something that looks like hamburger, I know she has become either Danish or Dutch, or she's been hitting on a fifth of vodka. But I love her sticky notes. I love the ones she writes on our children. Once I found one that simply said, mittens. It was so simple and tender, I nearly wept. It was late October, and she was thinking ahead. I might have read it in the space around the letters, I love my children, and I promise I will not die. When she was most sick, when she had wounds on her feet, was in the hospital for weeks, I would find her grocery lists. I could not bear to throw them away. I have a drawer full of the list of the most mundane things: frosted flakes, ketchup, pork chops, breadcrumbs, pierogi. Perhaps this is all love really is. Perhaps this is all love really is. The simple daily inscriptions we give and let go. Shopping, washing clothes, a passing brush of a hand, mowing the lawn. Everything we hate to do is part of this. We do the chores, we go to work, we lend a hand. This is what our brain says. Luther Vandross sings, "A chair is still a chair, even when there's no one sitting there. But a chair is not a house, and a house is not a home." What is a home? After the arguments and the pleading, after the nights alone and the cops knocking on the door, between the children screaming and the laughter, between the long hours of work and fighting with the government about disability checks, after the bills have been sorted, at the end of it all, dolls and Legos left out on the carpet, dishes that still need to be done, taking out the trash to the curb in the cold. I walk back into the house. Our daughters are in bed. My wife draws a heart on a sticky note and places it on my head. That's it.